Hello and welcome. You are watching AIL TV, and I'm a man called Jay, and you are, of course, watching Conversations for Change. As you know, we have got plenty of news and discussions about Africa. But without wasting time, in this program, I have got two distinguished guests. In fact, I also call them my friends. Now, I have got Temitpe Olodo is a counter terrorism and African analyst. Is that right, Mr. Temi?
Yes, it is. Thank you for having me.
Good girl. And then I have got Dr. Philip Idaewor. Am I pronouncing your name correctly, sir?
You are in good place.
Right. So now, as you see these two guests here, Mr. Temi, I think I would like you to reduce your headroom a little bit. Can you bring? Yeah. Aha. Yes. So now, as I've said earlier, these two guests here are the people that I trust. And of course, as you can hear, the names are from Nigeria. We know Nigeria is the giant of Africa. So then today they will actually say whether it is or it has backslid a bit. Now, Dr. Philip Idor is an aspirant presidential candidate in Nigeria. Am I right, sir?
For the 2023 elections.
Okay, say that again.
For the 2023 presidential elections.
Yeah, good. Right. Now, I'm going to put this question to you because, as you can see in the news, uh, Ukraine actually has actually brought so many things to the surface. But I'm not going to talk about Ukraine. The reason why I'm mentioning Ukraine and how it has changed the dynamics of politics and how energy is consumed in the West, as you can see here, Boris Johnson is being to Saudi Arabia to actually basically to beg for oil. Some people are saying he's begging for oil. So he has already met Mohammed bin Salman, the crown prince of Saudi Arabia. Now, but also, you will also notice that there is another development taking place. The woman who has been in prison for 6 years now is being released. So we are going to explore all that. So, gentlemen, the question is Africa oil and gas boom. Is it hype or reality? Let me start with Dr. Philip because he has got a lot to say. Since you're going to be the president of Nigeria, we want also to give us an insight of how you're going to tackle these problems. The floor is yours, sir.
Yeah, thank you very much, Joe, and thanks for having me. It's a pleasure being on the same podium with Mr. Olodo this evening as well.
Yes, sir.
Happy New Year. We haven't met since the beginning of the year. Now,
Yes.
with special
Thank you.
regard to the question or the issue you have placed on the floor, Joe, I think that what we are witnessing is not something that is new. Nations work to protect their interest or the interest of their citizens. That is the whole essence of geopolitics. And every moment of a country's or a nation's life, things change, things evolve, things are dynamic, just as it is with a person's life. So the issues that have happened in the past couple of weeks, with the conflict going on in Ukraine and all that is thrown up and the geopolitical arrangements that we are seeing or witnessing the issues that happened previously, because you are referring specifically to Britain with Brexit, we are seeing a ramping up of the dynamics of geopolitical rearrangements in order to secure the interest of the United Kingdom. We need energy in the West. We know that without a constant, regular supply of oil or fossil fuel, prices of goods and services are going to ramp up as well. So it is in the interest of this country to see that, wherever they can get easy access to oil, even if it's going to cost more, even if it's going to mean giving concessions, even if it's going to, involve negotiations with apparently previously unfriendly countries, for the sake of national interest, that is in order, that will have to take place. And I'm sure that the diplomacy will have been ongoing even before we knew of it in the public space. Now, how does this, how is it that does this impact or affect Nigeria as a country, which is oil producing, and other African countries that are also oil producing? I think that
Uh,
it is not.
yeah, just pause there. Let us hear what Temi Olodo what he's going to say. But we're going to come back to you and talk more about, because you have got more things to say. And let us hear from Temi Olodo.
Thank you so much for having me, and it's a great honor to be on the same platform with Doctor. Uh, Thank you so much, sir. Um, is it really a hype or a reality? Actually, we do have the oil and we do have the gas in abundance in Africa. So that is not an hype, for our viewers. It's not a reality, although it's not a reality when you look at it, because we've always been blessed by God Almighty with all the resources that we need. But what's the purpose of having resources when you don't even know how to use it? It's like giving millions to a slave that doesn't even know his rightful place. And even the good book said to us that a slave in a master's house is a slave. Even he might be grown up, but a small child who is an heir to the house even has more power than a slave. So we have a paradox in Africa where we are blessed with all the resources, but unfortunately, due to lack of strong institution, due to poor leadership and other parameters, we've not been able to actualize the good gifts that we have. And that's the reason why people like me, no matter the situation, we always support people like Doctor and people that are intellectuals when they want to stand for a position, regardless of their political lineage, because I know that when they are going there, I can always tell that they are going there with a good intention. I won't see Doctor coming out having a 500 bedroom afterwards, because he's not built in that way. He's lived in Europe, or he's lived in such a advanced and worked in such an environment where he knows that acquiring such wealth is irrelevant. What matters is for him to add value, to the community that he has been called to serve. But unfortunately, we don't have that with our leaders in Africa, and that is why we're going through what we're going through today.
Okay, let us pause. So, Dr. Philip,
Yeah.
I just want to ask you one question, which is very simple. Africa is part of the Commonwealth. So we need to apply these questions now. What do they mean, Africa being part of Commonwealth, yet we are not even considered, we are not even number 10 on the list of where they want to go and buy the oil? If you are president, and let me hope you will be, how would you go about addressing these issues? By the way, remember, this is not a political conference, but I just want you to give us an insight, because we are going to have to organize an event whereby we are going to put you on the table, tell the whole of Africa When you become president, what are you going to do? But now we are in the Commonwealth, but we are not even number 10 on the priorities. The floor again is yours.
Thank you, Joe. The first thing that we need to look at is how our politics in Africa has been defined by our political leaders. Politics is core and essential to how a nation is perceived because at the heart of governance is politics. If we have broken politics, if we have politics that is not has not placed the people at the center, at the heart of operations, whether at the political party level or at the community level, you are going to have a system in place that runs in every shape or form against the interest of the people and against the interest of the country. And that is what we are witnessing in Africa. The fact that our countries are members of the Commonwealth, but we do not seem, or our countries do not seem to have the respect that they should have. Looking at the amount of resources available in virtually every country in Africa, can only tell you one thing: these countries that are developed, that we are looking up to, they are also looking at us and asking themselves questions. If Britain were to come to Africa to source for oil, for instance, in Nigeria, what obstacles will be in place? What challenges are they going to have? Will the processes be smooth? Will the processes be transparent? How much of human impact, okay, will they have to encounter in the journey from procurement to delivery? What challenges? All of these issues I'm talking about are encapsulated in that singular word: our politics. We must get our politics right, and we must focus on ourselves, not what others can do for us, but what we ought to do for ourselves, first of all, in order to win or gain the respect of others. I think that is where the problem is. It's
Okay,
about
thank you.
our
Thank you. Now, let us look at let us because we are on the issue of African oil. So when you look at this table here, uh, the top 10 leading African oil producers in 2021, of course, Nigeria is at the top. It produced 1.36 million barrels. That is crude oil. Then you had Libya with 1.1 million point 17 1.17 million. Then you have got Angola with 1.4 1.14 million, and then the Algeria, and then the numbers starts to go down as you go all over Africa. And you have to remember, in Africa there are so many resources, even including gas. Everywhere now, gas is dotted in Africa, and some of it are being explored. But if I put this question here, realistically speaking, because the West or Britain, they consume a lot of energy, they consume a lot of oil. But even if it was to be that Boris Johnson went to Africa, do you really think we would be up to capacity to produce or to satisfy the supply and demand? This goes to Temi.
Thank you so much for this brilliant question. I think it's important to highlight that even though Nigeria is producing 1.3 million barrels of crude oil, Nigeria can produce more than that. Nigeria still have oil wells that have not yet been tapped. The question we need to be asking is, why is Nigeria not even considered in the first instance? Because the challenge we have is that we might come up with very brilliant strategy, but our implementation plan is always where the problem comes in. So if you have strong institution The UK government could easily have just said, you know what, we're willing to, and I'm just giving an hypothesis now, we're willing to put $10 billion or no, £10 billion or 200 billion pounds into the development of a crude oil plantation in Nigeria, to produce that oil in partnership with the Nigerian government. Well, of course, the problem the UK government have, that I believe they have, is that Nigerian politics, just like Dr. Philip will say, is not stable enough that you in sync such an amount and somebody else will not go in and cancel that contract within 5 minutes and you lose all your investment. When you are putting money into something, you want a situation where that thing is static. You know that when that thing is there, you can always guarantee government come, government go, that investment will be there because we have APC at the moment. APC could leave and PDP will come in and they could say no, we do not agree to this. There are so many things that be happening in Nigeria. There are so many projects that have been started by one administration. Of course, we could say that this present administration agreed to taking forward some of the projects that were left behind by by the previous administration. But there has been so much scandal in Nigeria which has made the headline about contracts, and also in not just Nigeria alone, in other countries where there have been kickbacks. So you have Virgin Air of Virgin Atlantic saying that to do business in Nigeria is a lot of things that you have to do behind the scene. So no government want to go in and say I'm bringing this money, and somebody will say, oh, before we sign that contract, you need to drop something. You need to give me a house in Switzerland. You need to do that. Corruption is so embedded that that is the problem in Africa. And I'm not saying there's no country that is immune from corruption, but there are things that you could that there are certain things that you should be able to avoid that corruption for. There's certain things that you should be able to say, you know what, this will benefit our people. So if the UK government says let's come and tap oil or work with Nigerian government to bring crude oil into the capacity that we need. We have 1.3, but the reason why we have 1.3 is because of all the insecurity in our country. If the insecurity is not there, we might even go up to 2 million barrels. I think it's even 2.4 billion million barrels that is talked about. But unfortunately, we can't produce up to that capacity because of the inherent insecurity challenges and other advisory factors that are affecting the crude oil production.
So, Dr. Philip, we have just had Temi actually, as always. He always hits the points straightforward. To me, it's beginning to look like even when we are speaking out loud, African leaders do not take us seriously. I do not understand. Why is that? This is actually very simple. So for example, when you see Boris Johnson going to Saudi Arabia to beg, basically, really to beg for oil, and it will also be Iran. What do African leaders think? Can you give us an insight, Dr. Philip?
Yeah, thank you very much again, and thanks, Timmy, for your great insight. I think that again, in all of these, at the heart and of all that we are talking about is that a good number of leaders who are manning the affairs of different countries in Africa today are people who stepped into those offices uh, without an Afrocentric or a national ideology, so to say. You, every country that must develop must first of all be in a position where her political leadership have to be individuals who are on fire inside out. They are on fire to see their countries develop, see their countries prospering, and see the citizens of those countries being helped to become the best that they could possibly be. Knowing this, that if these countries, if their country does well, one, the country will gain respect in the eyes of others. Two, peace will be prevalent in their country. Three, their citizens will gain an index of self actualization, self satisfaction, and the happiness to live their lives to the full. And three or four, productivity, therefore, will rise. What we are witnessing is that we have leaders in African countries who are leading these countries without a national ideological bed or foundation. And why is this so? I believe that from the time of independence, some countries were fortunate to have leaders in their countries that were concerned about the issues that I just spoke to, the issues of patriotism and nationalism, and the issues of Pan-Africanism. But those leaders never had the opportunity to get these ideologies embedded in their countries before they were taken out. So if you look across the countries of Africa, and historically, you will observe a trend. It is the trend that political leadership has tended to be attained by force, either by force of gun or by force of money, not by force of ideas or by force of ideologies or by force of patriotism. That these three that should be core values that drives any country forward. When you look across the countries of Africa, these three are mostly lacking. So if you have people who are elevated to the positions of power by sheer force of bravado because they have guns or because they have money, those kind of individuals will never be in a place where they will put the people first, or put their communities first, or put their countries first, or put their environment first. For us as Africans to gain global respect and be accepted at the table of our common humanity, it should be the case that African political leadership need to change. You said something, Joe, and that is this. We talk a lot, we speak out a lot, but it does not look or appear like the leadership of our countries back home in the continent are listening. Why should they listen? Most of them go into power because they have a lot of money, not because they cared about their countries. Most of them go into power because they had the guns in their hands, not because they cared about their countries. They simply forced their way up or bought their way or managed their way into political offices. There is an absence of that fire that I spoke about, the fire of ideology and nationalism and humanity that is making our political leaders say, I want to become the president of my country because I want my country or my race to be respected, because I want my country to become a better governed space, because I want the people who live in my country to become happier human beings, more productive, more resourceful human beings, because I want the environment which my country occupies to become a better managed environment or a better managed space. How many can you speak to,
Okay, now
in this
let
you as a
us pause there. Let us pause there. I know you are going to speak, so we still have time. Now, tell me, as we are speaking now, seriously, most Africans are hurting, especially the people who are in the West, Africans who live in the West or in the diaspora. We see how these countries are governed. They are not really 100% accurate, but they have got something that they give to their citizens. Now, we are still on the issue of African oil and gas boom. We have got business leaders in Africa. What do these business leaders think when they see the economy that is which is actually giving even them more wealth, but it's not all that governed properly. What do you what is your take on this?
Most of them they prefer the status quo because it allows them to get away with a lot of things that they will not naturally get away with. Let me give you an example of how things should be done because I was a former civil servant, so I think like a civil servant. When Nigeria was going through Boko Haram, or when Nigeria had when the Boko Haram security challenges started, British government, American government did not wait for Nigeria to actually approach them. The ambassador and the presidents actually stepped out and said, you know what, we can provide you with technical support. And that is not for free. It's called technical support in order for you to be able to get rid or to be able to overcome the insecurity challenges that you are going through. So instead of my president roaming about, going in his private jet to go and attend a summit, and going to speak at a summit and things. I would have expected my president to pick up the phone and call Boris Johnson and say, "Hi, Boris, how you doing? Listen, I've got a proposal for you. Can I come down to London to come and see you? Because I think this proposal will actually work for you." And I know that what Boris will say is, Your Excellency, definitely, if you want to come and see me, to come and have a 5 minute chat with me, that's fine. He will have been more than willing to speak to the Nigerian president. In fact, that's the job of the ambassador. The job of the ambassador is connecting with the foreign office and saying, you know what, hey, look here, I know you're going to Libya, however, have you not thought about, or you're going to, Iran, and you're giving Iran 400 million? Do you know that we also have oil? We can actually increase the capacity of this oil. Some of this reason why we've not been able to do this little thing is because, for example, the Niger Delta people feel that we need to put some oil in their, put some money in their community. Actually, if you loan us interest free a $50 million, we can settle the Niger Delta people and we can increase capacity for 1.3 to 1.9 or 1.8. That's 600,000 barrel again is extra, which we can actually give to you on interest free loan. So we can actually create just this 600 barrel of 600,000 barrel of oil, which we can give to you, just you alone. Just give us 50 million. $50 million for us to give to this community and add value to this community. You know, these are proactive way of thinking. But my president is roaming about, going to climate change, going to this war is happening in Ukraine, and all my president is thinking about is flying to one summit and coming for his checkup, which I have no problem with. But the bottom line is, what is his vice president doing? What is the minister of petroleum doing? They could easily fly out and call the minister, the UK minister for minerals. I say, oh, hi, Bob. We met at so place. I know that there's a problem here. Let's have a conversation. Let's discuss. Let's see what we can do for you. Let's see. Do you need 100,000 extra crude oil? We can produce it for you. We can drop something for you. It might not be much, but we can do something to support you because of our relationship. And definitely, UK will not turn around and say, no, we don't want it. Of course, they will say, yes, thank you very much. That's what we should be doing. And if we think we don't want to do that, we could easily just call, hey, Libya, hey, Angola, because all they've been talking about is Angola, because they believe they have better structure in Angola because it's under the French. But we could just say, hey, Angola, hey, so, why don't we five come together as a block and say, you know what, we're going to, as a block, we're going to put another extra 1 million barrel of oil into the market to help with this ongoing crisis. They could easily have done that. Now, this is me thinking as a man that is not even in the center. Now, if I could have this kind of mindset and yet I could get special advisors around me, or Dr. Philip could get different people around him to give him this kind of idea, what do you think will happen? At $100 per barrel, and we could produce another 1 million barrel a day extra in Africa, what do you think will happen? You see, these are the kind of innovative way of thinking. But our leaders are not thinking about that. All they are thinking about is going for summits and going to go and speak. And they just want the picture going out to say, oh, he was in the United Nations speaking at the United Nations. It was at this summit where he gave a speech. It was at this summit where he gave this workshop where he gave a speech. That's it's all about what my dad used to call in the olden days cheap publicity.
Okay, Dr. Philip, do you have anything you want to add?
Thank you very much. I think that again, Temi has spoken and he has raised some vital issues. Uh, when we speak about African countries, we tend to speak like we are talking now about our mineral resources, about oil deposits, about gold, about all the solid minerals and all the gas. For me, I think that, and I keep saying this, that our most important and most valued asset is our human capacity, our human resource, and those are the things that Temitope just spoke about. Now, the African diaspora alone, whether those who emigrated and those who have been here by reason of centuries of slave trade, Africans, we as African leaders, these are people that we ought to nurture a strong bonding relationship with, encourage to see the African continent as their homeland, and invest in the continent. Invest, not necessarily bringing money in, but invest their capabilities. So the kind of issues that Temitope raised, for instance, in terms of the expertise that can be brought back, in terms of back office advisories that these people can provide, the expertise that they have gained over the years by interacting with the global community, whether in Europe or North America or in Asia or in the Oriental countries, the global the global exposure that they have had. What I will be thinking that we should be doing is to see these people as assets to the African continent. I think that we are losing more by not bringing the African diaspora on board to develop our continent. I mean, when I say that, I repeat again, I'm not saying those of us who emigrated from the African continent, but even those whose ancestors, were shipped away from our continent, they belong to us. They are our brothers and sisters. We ought to put in place active remedial action or actions or active processes to win their loyalty, to win them back to our continent. They may be living wherever they are. We want them to feel bonded to the mother continent and therefore be willing to serve the continent with their expertise, with their skills, with their resources, and with the connections they have, whether in the open or in the back room. For instance, you talk about advice. I am sure there's virtually no country in the West today where we do not have highly placed people of African ancestry who are occupying positions of influence. Okay, and these are people that we ought to reach out to them, whether directly or through the back door, and make them feel that as Africans they are valued and the continent needs them. We need to win them and we need to get them to be on our side. So that when things are being discussed about the African continent or countries in Africa, they will speak on our behalf. They will speak favorably for us. They will be our advocates. We should not neglect what we have, our most important resources, and that is what we are doing. Most of our of the leadership in our country, because we are not seeing what these people, the value that these people should be to our countries. We are not seeing those at all. Thank you.
So, uh, I have put this picture purposely for people actually to see the difference between how Africa is treated and the rest of the world. Imagine this picture here. Was President Buhari or was President of Angola or President of Algeria, Pres- uh, Prime Minister Johnson sitting with an African president? What do you think? What message will that send? And what does this? What do we learn from this?
In my days in school, we used to talk about the agama lizard, which many people listening to me will know about, who jumped down from the high Iroko tree, see no one to congratulate him. He congratulates himself for not breaking his neck. Sometimes these pictures are very good because it let us know our position in the community of nations. But what I would have loved to see is, even if Nigeria could not call an internal meeting among themselves about saying what is the benefit to us of this ongoing crisis, I would have loved President Buhari to make a call to Kenyatta of Kenya and say, hey, bro, what's happening there? Call his South African brother and say, let's have an emergency meeting. I think it's high time we come and start looking at how we develop Africa. Now, Botswana and all these countries in the southern and east Africa have been developing their coal mine and gold and diamond for centuries. They know how to do it, and we've got Africans who have these skills. Okay, let's do a partnership from Kenya to South Africa to Nigeria. We've got untapped raw materials in Africa. Let's bring our resources together and do a partnership. Was it not a partnership between UK and France that created Eurostar? Why is it that two or three African countries cannot come together and say, you know what, we're going to look at one of our mines, and we're going to put up our funds together to develop that mines, and then we're going to share it. 30% of our citizens can actually work in this mine as a joint project. Why can't we go to Cameroon and work together and say, okay, Nigeria has gas, but they've not been able to tap it. South Africa, you got the skill set. Come, Angola, come. Let's do something together. Do you know that internal trading within Africa is only 12%, and we've not even looked at increasing it? Russia has just been taken off the global financial system so that they can't even trade or get visa or whatever. What are we do in terms of what has happened? What lesson have African leaders learned from it to say, you know what, maybe this is the time to bring all our technical financial people together and say, within Africa, we need to now have our own visa card, type of visa card, so that we at least we can trade among ourselves. Because if they decide to switch us off, there's nothing that we can do. But if we have a system within Africa that we can start trading within Africa, we can start trading and using money, and that's why this African system that they want to start trading, internet trading within Africa, was a good one. There are a lot of things that we can learn from what has happened in Ukraine. There are a lot of examples. We've seen that touch one, you touch all. And all these European countries are coming together to say, okay, Ukraine must not be punished this way. What have we done since Nigeria and Mr. You are a man of wisdom, sir. Man J. Do you remember that we have a discussion where you looked at looked at a country that had a terrorism problem, and that country called on its neighbor, and the neighbor came in to flush the terrorist for them. If you remember, we had that conversation. Why is it that Nigeria could not call on all the others? Because they did call when they had the multinational task force. That was the only time when Nigeria was able to get the Cameroonians, the Algeria, the Nigerians and Chadians to come, and they entered into Nigerian territory and helped flush Boko Haram. And then they felt, oh, we can do it ourselves now. And then they drove them away, and then that dealt with it. So this multi joint international cooperation within Africa, or inter-Africa corporations to develop our resources, might be a way to help us develop Africa.
So, Dr. Philip, we actually we've been talking. Yeah, I think we have also discussed very very important issues here, because we have got little time, but we need to keep on talking. I'm just throwing this question as a joke, but it is not a joke. It's serious. if you were to become the president of Nigeria, will you give Temitpe Olodo a job as an advisor?
We shouldn't be afraid. A leader must not be afraid to surround himself with the best minds. The job of leadership is for the leader to sit and listen to good advice and to ensure that at all times decisions made are not just pragmatic, but they are centered in the best interest of his people or her people. For me, the Nigerian person, the Nigerian individual, the Nigerian citizen is so important that wherever we can get help and expertise from on the face of the earth, we must actively go seeking for it because we must kick the process of redefining who we are as a people, developing our country, entrenching what it means to be patriotic and a patriotic leader in the minds of our citizens and ensuring in the process that we jumpstart the African renaissance, African development. We cannot develop all the countries of Africa all at once, but one by one, country by country, we must begin the process of transforming our countries and our continent. We must. And to do so, we must ensure, I repeat, that we must get the best minds. Temi is as you introduced him earlier, is deeply knowledgeable on the issues of strategic security, matters. Why should a president be afraid to bring such persons together? Why not open the space for such expertise, and sit down with them, deal with our security challenges. There may be the need to deploy technology. There may be need to deploy soft power. There may be need to deploy, traditional or forces. But unless and until we are willing as a people to open the space for both lateral and vertical thinking, to give a global and a holistic view to dealing with our problems one by one, we probably will not be able to put our countries on a foundation that will elicit the kind of development that you and I are talking about. And that development has to include peace. It has to include our citizens having the right or having the feeling that they have a right to be respected, to be valued, and to be treated as human beings by the political leadership. How we do that, as president, you shouldn't treat yourself as a god. You shouldn't see yourself as a god. You are elected to provide leadership, to provide vision, to provide direction, and to provide the vigor that will drive your community and your country forward. And I think that that is what we must be doing. And that is the message we should be sending to all all countries in Africa. Again, it will say that we cannot develop all the countries at once, but I appeal to my brothers and sisters in the African diaspora. The time is now to begin to take one country at a time. One country at a time. Let us take the grounds and redefine what leadership politically should be in our continent so that we can gain that global respect that we are asking and talking about. Africans need to be respected, and it will not happen if we don't get our politics right.
Okay, so we started. The question was whether oil and gas boom in Africa is it hype or reality. But now we're gonna finish here. Temi has already raised the point that if all these top 10 countries, as you see them on the list, if they were to come together now, forget what has happened now. But I think it is now, it is the time for them to come together and say, well, look, you see, Africa is never ready. When the pandemic hit, we were not ready. When Ebola hit, we were not ready. And we are, even then, we are still kept captive because we are getting the money from abroad. Now, when we look at this list here, as I have already mentioned that we might not actually supply Europe, but actually Algeria is supplying oil to Spain and some other some other European countries. So you guys here, I'm always finding out ways. Why are we not listened to? Why would a foreigner go and advise an African government or a government official from Africa, and those people are believed? So please, now we want just only 2 minutes. Temi, I'm going to start with you, and then I will end up with Dr. Philip. Why are we not listened?
We are not listening to because some of our leaders, I don't want to accuse all of them, some of our leaders have inferiority complex. They have inferiority complex challenge. Some of them believe that it's only when the skin is white that they have a better idea, or they can actually speak better ideas. I've had situations where colleagues have taken white cleaners to Africa to deliver presentations on their behalf in order for them to be able to get a contract. Because a cleaner that can deliver a contract with an accent, English accent or American accent, is better than a African professor that uses an African tongue or mother tongue to speak. So that is the complex. Until we remove that complexity challenge, we're going to continue to have this problem. When our leaders go off, when they go abroad, they don't have that capacity. They don't have the they feel inferior in the community of nations. They can't sit up with their head high to say, you know what, I am the leader of a country. I know what my people want. Even when they are taking a private, even when Boris is going with a private, with a going with a normal, just first class to go to a program with that private jet. Our leaders will go with private jet and they will still go there to be begging for money. A beggar will always be a beggar regardless of the way you dress him. I had a story once of a king that went to a far country, and he took his slave with him, and he dressed his slave like a prince. But when they got there and they got to the table to eat, the prince was nowhere to be found. He had already gone into the den of the dogs and the animals in that palace to go and sit down and eat with them. So they came to the king and said, "Ah, King, your prince, your son, the prince, is eating with all the other animals, all the other animals in the compound." They say he just want to let you know there is not actually a prince, he's a slave. So that is the mentality problem we have. Until we break that mentality problem by bringing good people that have that. Is it Dr. Philip that you put in Downing Street, that will go to Downing Street? Yes, I can see it. I've got. Is it Dr. Philip that you take to Downing Street and Boris will speak to, and he will be shaking in front of Boris? He can't shake in front of Boris because there's nothing Boris want to tell him that he does not know. That is the problem.
Dr. Philip,
Yes, thank you very much. I think that also, in addition to what Temitpe has just said, I think that we have the issues of the exposure that those of us who are outside have gained. Our attitudes have shifted, have changed. Our children, for instance, who are born and raised in this part of the world, although they are Africans, their attitude, their street knowledge, and all that is very different from what these our leaders expect. And when you interact with our leaders, and you eyeball them, you speak to them, they think that you are either arrogant or you are proud or you are disrespectful. In Nigeria, for instance, when a senior person is talking to you, you are supposed to keep your eyes down. Whereas in the environment in which we live, if you kept your eyes down, you are suspected. You are seen as somebody who is not either self-confident or that you have something to hide. Uh, and if you looked, I mean, a Nigerian leader straight in the eye thinks that you are being rude or this is being disrespectful. So I think that values have shifted, and it is high time that African leaders recognize that in a globalized world in which we live, they must play up or they must upgrade to that point where they can interact with other leaders at the same level and at the same plane. And I think that this is where the African diaspora that I keep referring to, this is where their game comes on. Not just us, who came here, but our children, our descendants, those people that have come through, they were born here, they were raised here. They are of value to our continent. They see themselves as African because they are Africans. Just like the Caucasian will see himself as a Caucasian wherever he is. They are Africans. And given the chance, they will help our countries build better relationships with the other races because they have intermingled with them. They went to school with them. They ate with them. They played with them. And that is what should be the case that we should be driving. A place where all Africans are encouraged to become part and parcel of this new army of believers in the African vision, in the African dream, in the African of the now and the future. You hit it on the head there, Joe. Let us forget the past. Let us build the Africa of today and the Africa of tomorrow. Of course, based on our historical knowledge. Thank you very much.
Thank you, gentlemen. So, thank you very much for coming. I know we have been tripping out, but still the conversation has been uh, is related to Africa oil and gas and how we manage it. Next time, we want actually now to talk about how how we drive our political situations. That one will be for another day. And for tonight or for today, if you are in Australia, America, whatever, it could be any time. Stay tuned. Conversations for Change. We are going to bring you some stuff that you don't normally hear anywhere else. And on top of, after saying that, I must say we have reached the end of our program, but I need to let you know that this conversation can continue on social media. Until then, ciao.